So in this lab, we're gonna be looking at changes of gases. So our first change that we're gonna look at adding zinc. So I'm gonna put zinc here. That way you can see zinc. Now remember that if you're having a hard time seeing the properties here, you could always just Google a picture of zinc and describe to me some of the physical properties. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take zinc and we are gonna add to our zinc our hydrochloric acid. So this is our hydrochloric acid. We're gonna go ahead, dump our hydrochloric acid into our zinc, and then we are going to observe what's happening. So I'm gonna dump my hydrochloric acid into my zinc. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna put a stopper on this. What we're doing by putting a stopper on this is any gas that's produced, I'm trapping that gas. So we can see up close a reaction happening. So remember, you're always looking for signs of a chemical or a physical change. So you want to go ahead and see if there's a chemical or a physical change happening. I'm going to go ahead and test this. It does feel warm. We're going to leave this here so you can see it continue to react. And I'm going to leave that stopper on top there so that way I'm trapping any gas inside. Next up, we're going to look at sodium hydrogen carbonate, otherwise known as baking soda. So you're gonna list for me a couple physical properties of this. Again, if you're having a hard time seeing it, you're gonna go ahead and you're gonna Google baking soda and describe for me the physical properties. We're gonna add to it acetic acid, which is also known as vinegar. So this is my vinegar. You're gonna tell me a couple physical properties. I'm gonna go ahead and add my vinegar, and same thing, I'm gonna stopper it immediately. So I'm gonna go ahead, add some of this. Whoop, a little foamy there. And we're gonna go ahead and I'm gonna place a stopper on that as well too. So again, any gas that's being produced, we're trapping it in. We can see our reaction happening here. And when I place it on my arm, this reaction actually feels cold. So I'm gonna put this reaction off to the side. And next up, what we wanna do is we wanna do what's called our burning splint test. So we're gonna be lighting a Bunsen burner. I'm gonna move these reactions just off to the side for now. I'm gonna put the Bunsen burner in the frame, and we are going to look at how to light a Bunsen burner. So first of all, over here, I'm gonna pick this phone up here. Over here, I've got my gas valve. I wanna go ahead and I wanna turn my gas valve on. By turning my gas valve on, it's gonna release gas outside of the Bunsen burner. I wanna make sure down here my oxygen valve is open. And notice I actually did this lab without wearing gloves. I did that on purpose to make sure that I don't use gloves during a heat source. Once I turn my gas on, I'm gonna use this sparker to gently spark over top of my Bunsen burner, and that's gonna give me a flame. So I'm gonna go ahead and turn my Bunsen burner, my gas on, I'm gonna spark, and I've got a flame. Notice that you're actually having a hard time seeing that flame. It's because it's a blue invisible flame. If I turn this and I release more gas, you can see more of the orange. If I turn it this way, again, you can see more of the orange. I want to keep it so that it's the hottest part of the flame, that it's that blue flame. Now again, this is invisible. So if you're in the lab doing this, you want to make sure that you or your partner is always at the flame at all times to make sure that no one catches that flame. So we're gonna do what's called a burning splint test first. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna get my splints. My wooden splints look like this. So I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna do a burning splint test. So what I wanna do is I'm gonna move this off camera now so I can pull my chemicals back towards me. I'm gonna use that flame to the Bunsen burner that's off to my side here, and I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna light it, and I'm going to see, first of all, my zinc and hydrochloric acid. I'm gonna see what gas was produced. So I'm gonna light it, I'm gonna stick it in the mouth of the test tube, and I'm gonna see if I get a reaction. So we've again got my zinc and hydrochloric acid, my first reaction. I'm gonna light my splint, got my split lint. I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna stick it in the mouth of the test tube. And if you notice, I actually got a popping sound. Now I'm gonna do what's called a glowing splint test. So a glowing splint test is I take my splint, I blow it out, and since it's glowing, I'm gonna stick that into the test tube, and notice that nothing happened. I'm gonna do the exact same thing now for my second reaction. My second reaction was again baking soda and vinegar or baking soda and acetic acid. So I'm gonna light my same splint. I'm gonna stick it in the mouth of the test tube. And notice this time I didn't get a popping sound. This time I noticed that my flame went out. I'm gonna now try my glowing splint test. So I'm gonna again light it. I'm gonna blow it out. And while it's still glowing, stick it in the mouth of my test tube. And again, that glowing went out, so nothing happened. So I wanna make sure now that I turn my gas off, turn my Bunsen burner off as soon as I've used it. And now I wanna use my observations to not only state whether or not this was a chemical or a physical change, but I also wanna use these observations to identify what gas was produced in test tube 1 with zinc and hydrochloric acid, and what gas was produced in test tube 2 with baking soda and acetic acid. Make sure to use the information provided to you in your introduction to make these observations.